Gardevoir EX had incredible success in the Scarlet and Violet format, piloted by Tord Reklev, who placed second at EUIC, and Henry Brand, who won the Milwaukee Regional Championships. With the release of Paldea Evolved, Gardevoir EX gains revolutionary new cards and is perceived to become the best deck in standard format. We already have evidence for Gardevoir's dominance with these new cards, since the cards from Paldea Evolved have been legal in Japan for multiple major events. Champions League Niigata in May had 5 Gardevoir EX decks in the top 16 out of 2,700 players, with 2 of those Gardevoir EX decks finishing in first and second place. Gardevoir EX's most recent success was second place out of 2,000 players at the Japan Championships, where it lost to Fusion Strike Mew in the finals. The Gardevoir decklist I'll be playing in today's video is based on Yoshiyuki Yamaguchi's 9th place deck from the Japan Championships. The new cards from Paldea Evolved in this decklist are Iono, Super Rod, Artazon, and Reversal Energy. Iono is one of the best supporter cards ever printed, and it cannot be understated how much it improves the Gardevoir EX deck. Super Rod loosely replaces Miriam or Clara in this deck, and it's great for recycling Pokémon without using your supporter for turn. Artazon is good because it fills the role of a stadium card for removing unwanted stadiums from play, and it can search out a non-rule box basic Pokémon once a turn. The last new card is Reversal Energy, which can add 90 damage to Gardevoir's Brainwave attack as long as you're behind on prize cards. I'm playing one Champions Festival in the deck today, but if you don't have this card, you can just as well play Temple of Sinnoh or a second Artazon in its place. If you enjoyed today's video, remember to subscribe for more Pokemon TCG content, and you can also check out my second channel, Celio2, for bonus content. If you'd like to support my channel, you can do so by using code Celio at PotownStore.com when shopping for Pokemon TCG Live code cards, or use my affiliate links for Dragon Shield sleeves and Into the AM apparel. If you'd like to support further, you can become a Metafy member using my link, which will directly support me. And I also offer Pokemon TCG coaching through Metafy. Now, let's get into the gameplay with Gardevoir EX. Game 1, we are against a Lost Zone box deck, which is using Kyogre, and this is one of the best decks in the meta, Lost Zone box in general, so this was a really good game to showcase for today's video, so I'm glad I got recording of a solid game versus Lost Zone. They're able to play a Battle VIP Pass for some comfies, get a Manaphy down because they see my Radiant Greninja, so they think I'm playing a deck that can actually attack with the Radiant Greninja. They get 2 cards into the Lost Zone, and now I'll start my turn, and they'll quickly realize they didn't need that Manaphy on the bench. My goal is going to be to get Ralts benched to get a Manaphy down in case of their Radiant Greninja using Moonlight Shuriken. And I'm also going to want to check my deck to see if Cresselia is in the deck, because Cresselia is a really good attacker into Lost Zone, because we can ping our Pokemon with damage with Psychic Recharge, Psychic Embrace, and then use Moon Glow Reverse to take out their Comfies or Sableye without putting a Pokemon like Gardevoir or Zacian out into the line of fire. So this is a perfect turn 1 board versus Lost Zone. We want that Cresselia, and we also want Radiant Greninja, so that if they escape rope, I can always send out a Pokemon with more than 110 HP, and they won't just get a free knockout with Cramorant. And there's the escape rope, and this is again why you want Radiant Greninja and Cresselia on the board versus Lost Zone. And I believe this will be their 6th card in the Lost Zone, since they used 2 Flower Selectings plus a Colress this turn. Last turn they used Flower Select. And here they'll probably just retreat and then spit instantly 110. And yeah, there's the spit instantly for 110. So I'm definitely going to want to try to get a Rare Candy and a Gardevoir so I can use Moonglow Reverse this turn to knock out a Comfy. Concealed cards gets us an Artazon and another Level Ball. And I'm going to go ahead and Level Ball this extra Kirlia out of the deck as well before using Refinement, because I'm thinning out the deck, because the card that I want to see is Rare Candy, and then I also need either Gardevoir EX or an Ultra Ball to get the Gardevoir EX. I'd also like to see an Iono, because I don't have a supporter for turn yet. So there's Rare Candy. Again, I'm going to thin out the deck because I'm looking for specific cards with these refinements. So I'll use Refinement number 2 here. discarding a Psychic Energy. Or actually, I'm going to discard the boss in case I need to retreat for turn. So if I whiffed that Ultra Ball, yeah, it's good that I kept the Psychic Energy, because if I whiffed the Ultra Ball or the Gardevoir, I'd want to attach Retreat into Radiant Greninja. That way they don't just take the free knockout on Cresselia. I'll have to make them do some work to get that prize card. They'll need a boss or another escape rope or something like that. So, but we do get the Gardevoir EX plus Rare Candy, and also because the Cresselia already had 110, I had to keep that energy in my hand because I have to manually attach to it. I can't Psychic Recharge. So in the moment when I was recording this game, it was 100% correct to keep that Psychic Energy, and that's why I did it. So here we'll go Moonclow Reverse, 8 damage counters onto the Comfy, and I heal 20 off of 4 of my Pokemon. The healing on the Cresselia isn't really important, it's just that I'm knocking out something on their bench. I'm leaving them with a Cramorant in the active, which can be a little awkward because that means they can't use Flower Selecting. And I am not putting a Gardevoir or Kirlia or a Zacian out there into the line of fire. We want to conserve our Gardevoir line and force them to knock out these Cresselias, which, as the game goes on, we don't care about as much as our Gardevoirs, because the Gardevoirs draw cards and attach energies and attack. And every Pokemon on my board right now is serving a purpose, because again, if they escape rope, I send out the Radiant Greninja. If it gets knocked out by something, I don't really care, but it'll most likely just get hit by a Cramorant and not get knocked out. The Manaphy's there to protect us from Moonlight Shuriken. The Gardevoir EX is there to accelerate energies. The Kirlias are drawing cards, and then they can also later evolve into more Gardevoirs. And of course, the Cresselia was used to take a knockout that turn. So here the opponent has their 10 cards in the Lost Zone now, and they will be able to use Lost Mine as long as they can get the Sableye into the active and they have a Psychic Energy. In case they want to use Spit Innocently, though, here with this escape rope, I think the correct move is to move my Radiant Greninja into the active, but I don't have any energy in hand, which makes it a little bit iffy. So I'm checking, how many energies are still in circulation? Plenty, so I can probably just draw into one. So I will promote that Radiant Greninja so that if their plan was to attack with Spit Innocently, they still don't get a prize card from it. But they do have the Mirage Gate, which gets them the Psychic Energy for Lost Mine, and so they'll be able to knock out my Cresselia and my Manaphy this turn. So Lost Mine will knock out Cresselia, Manaphy, and place some extra damage onto the Radiant Greninja, putting it in knockout range of a Spit Innocently later or of a Lost Mine later on. I have one Iono in the discard, and I do want Iono this turn, but I have to decide if it's worth using that Pal Pad right now. Concealed cards away an energy, and now we'll Refinement again. Refinement away the Kirlia, and we do get Iono there, which is great. And I had to keep that energy in hand. Again, remember, you can't Psychic Embrace to a Greninja or to a Manaphy, anything that's not Psychic, so I had to keep that manual attachment around so that I can retreat the Greninja. Refinement away a Battle Pass. We got that Iono, so that was good. Put the opponent down to 4 cards, and we're going to be knocking out their Sableye, so they'll have to figure out what they want to do from here. We don't find a Super Rod yet, and I would love to use Super Rod to use a Cresselia so that we don't have to attack with a Gardevoir this turn. Fog Crystal, looking through the deck, probably just going to grab this Psychic Energy, retreat the Greninja, and send out Shining Arcana Gardevoir, and I will attack with Brainwave to knock out the Sableye, so we can be out of range of Spit Innocently, but I will still be in range of a Lost Mine. So it's not perfect, but it takes the knockout. We take another prize card, and I did Iono them, so they're going to have to do some work to find the Sableye again if they want to use Lost Mine. I also have to be wary of the Kyogre on their bench, and also tried to place the Manaphy down later on at exactly the right time when I think they can actually make use of that Kyogre. Right now, I'm not scared of the Kyogre. They still have 17 cards in their deck, and I'm not scared of the Moonlight Shuriken because I don't have anything on the board that they can actually knock out with that. Nest Ball the Sableye, so they do get another Sableye, and they have Psychic Energy for it already. Now they'll just have to move this Comfy out of the active position, and they'll be able to Lost Mine my Gardevoir. There is the Switch Cart into Sableye, and at this point in the mid-game, we'll have a little bit of a back and forth with the Lost Zone box, but hopefully with each knockout and each prize card they take, I will be able to Iono them down to a smaller hand every time. But they are thinning their deck pretty well. So they have 5 cards in hand, 12 cards in deck. When I Iono them here, they will have a 17 card deck and draw 3 from it. So they'll have 3 cards in hand, 14 card deck. They'll have at least 1 Comfy to use Flower Selecting with, and if they have any energy in hand, they'll have concealed cards as well, so they can play that up to a 6 card hand after top deck Flower Select plus concealed cards. So they should still have a decent amount of options next turn after this Iono to 3. I find the Super Rod, which is really great, so I can get Cresselia, Manaphy, and Ralts back with that, and then I still have a Shining Arcana here to use. So I Shining Arcana into the Manaphy. The question is, do I want to bench that yet? Or is that just going to be Sableye food next turn? So Psychic Recharge to the Gardevoir. And I'm going to forego benching the Manaphy here and Brainwave 150 at the Sableye. So the Manaphy, I didn't bench it that turn because they can't actually win with Kyogre this turn. Because my Gardevoir is 310 HP. I don't have Zacian V in the discard pile, if I'm correct. So even if they have Echoing Horn, they don't have any targets that would win them the game with Kyogre. And I also don't think they'll empty their deck and get the perfect Kyogre turn here anyway, even if they did have targets to hit with it. So I'm going to save that Manaphy until next turn to lock them into a position where their Kyogre won't do anything. There's Clara, and PTCG Live doesn't show what your opponent gets with Clara, but we can assume it was Sableye and Psychic Energies. There's concealed cards. They'll Escape Rope into the Sableye. I send out Gardevoir EX here, and I know they're going to Lost Mine the Gardevoir Shining Arcana, so there wasn't really much of a thought here on what I want to send out with the Escape Rope. So there's Lost Mine on the Gardevoir, and they're now down to 2 prize cards, and they have 16 cards in circulation between their deck and hand. And I do wonder if they took back too many cards with Clara, because now this could actually clunk up their deck. I'm thinking about using this concealed cards, and I don't have a Kirlia to use after the Iono, so my hand is going to just be 3 cards after the Iono. And I feel like maybe I should have waited to use concealed cards, because actually I don't know if I have energy left in the deck. So if I don't have energy left in the deck at this point, it was correct to concealed cards there. I could have also considered attaching the energy manually to the Gardevoir EX, but I think I'm hoping to get a Cresselia off of this Iono to 3. So if I get Cresselia off the Iono to 3, that'll be perfect. And I do get the Cresselia. I also get an energy, so if I didn't use that concealed cards, I might have still gotten an energy. I'm not sure, because Iono to 3 would have been the top 2 cards that I got with concealed cards plus 1 more. So here we Psychic Embrace to 4 Pokemon. That's 8 damage counters. And then I can retreat. Those energies go back into the discard pile where they can be used again later. And Moonlight Glow to knock out Sableye. Or Moonglow Reverse. I call these attacks something different every time. Don't do that. Definitely say the right name of the attack. That's the optimal thing to do. So Moonglow Reverse, heal 20 from 4 of my Pokemon, put 8 damage counters on Sableye. They're down to 2 cards, 2 prize cards now. And let's see what they can pull together. Again, this Cresselia is so good because they can't knock it out with Cramorant. If I was accelerating to Shining Arcana Guardies every turn, I'd probably be Psychic Recharging at least twice to them, or Psychic Embracing twice to them to put 4 damage counters, putting them in knockout range of Spit Innocently. Cresselia doesn't put me into that poor position. So Mirage Gate to Kyogre and Comfy. We might just be seeing a retreat into Spit Innocently this turn. Boss's orders. I wonder if this is bringing up the Manaphy. I think they should bring up the Manaphy retreat spit innocently. Yep, there it is. So they will be able to take out the Manaphy, and things get a little scary now. So they're down to 1 prize card, 3 cards in hand, 4 cards in deck. If I Iono them, they'll end up with 2 cards at the start of their turn and 5 cards in deck. Starting the turn out with concealed cards, I get Champions Festival and Reversal Energy. So I could attack with Shining Arcana Gardevoir. And I think I want to keep the reversal so I can just attach it since I'm behind on prize cards. But I actually don't, and I also don't have a Shining Arcana Gardevoir in the deck. I might have known that, and that's why I Ultra Balled away the reversal. I activate the Pokestop, and I get Level Ball, Ultra Ball. I lose a Research. I don't care about losing the Research. Level Ball for a Mew, just thinning out the deck, seeing what I have left in deck. But I don't have any ways left to draw cards. I'm going to replace the Pokestop, I believe, just to prevent them from using it. I think the play here is leave their Cramorant active and knock out their Comfy on the bench with the Moonglow reverse. That way they need like a Boss's Orders, or they need a Sableye plus Psychic Energy plus a way to retreat to win, which I don't think they'll be able to do with the resources they're down and their current board state. So Psychic Embrace for Pokemon, and I can now also Rare Candy that Ralts into a Gardevoir EX. So a Boss's Orders would no longer be a win condition for them because there are no Pokemon on my board that can be knocked out with Spit innocently. Okay, here is the final turn. They bench a Comfy. If they can make a Lost Mine happen, they win. If they can attack with Kyogre's second attack to knock out my Cresselia, they win. Energy Recycler. And it's just a Spit innocently, which means I can retreat Psychic Embrace to any of my Pokemon and win the game with the knockout on Cramorant. GG. Game 2, my opponent opens Greninja, so we don't really know what we're against yet. There's a handful of decks it could be. So here I have Fog Crystal and Level Ball after the concealed cards, so I'll just grab 2 Ralts and pass my turn. That's really the most I can do. The opponent battle passes for 2 Ralts, so it reveals that we are playing a mirror match most likely. There's Psychic Energy, and then Peonia. Now Peonia is typically seen in the Reversal Gardy deck, which plays 4 Reversal Energies and also plays Mewtwo V Union. So I'm going to be playing this game under the assumption that the opponent has Mewtwo V Union, and we'll see if they confirm that in the first couple turns for us. Okay, and they're able to get 4 Ralts down on turn 1 and then pass. My hand's not very good. This will likely just be an Iono this turn because I don't want to research away all of these cards. Champions Festival, Super Rod, Boss, Pal Pad. And I Iono into some good cards, but the problem is I don't think I'm going to be getting a turn 2 attack here. We'll evolve that Kirlia and use Refinement, getting rid of Battle Pass. That's an easy choice. I find another Kirlia, we're just going to go ahead and evolve that. There's no Rare Candy Gardy happening this turn. And here I decide if I'm going to Refinement or not, or just bench the Ralts and pass. And I choose to Refinement away the Ultra Ball since we don't need the Ultra Ball this turn anyway. And now I do draw into an energy so we can conceal cards. And then Level Ball for the final Ralts, and we match our opponent's 4 Ralts, and we'll have to see what kind of turn 2 they can get up to. Typically, if this is Reversal Gardy that we're against, they only play 1 Rare Candy, and there's one of the Mewtwo V Union legs, so it is indeed Reversal Gardy. They attach active Greninja, evolve a Refinement Kirlia, and then Iono. Off the Iono, our hand's pretty good. We have a Level Ball that can get us another Kirlia, and if we find a Gardevoir EX, we have our candy for it already. And we have Research, in which we could use to throw away. We'll probably just toss the Artazon and Battle VIP Pass, use the Pal Pad prior to using the Research to put back an Iono. Since I have the Rare Candy, I'm going to go ahead and use Refinement, see if I can get into the Gardy so I don't have to throw away the Rare Candy. And there we go, there's Gardevoir EX. So I can have 3 Kirlias down, that's going to be 3 Refinements, really building up a large hand here. I also find Iono if I want to use it, but I also have to figure out what I'm going to be attacking with, since I started Manaphy, I have Radiant Greninja on the bench, and I have 4 Ralts, or 4 Kirlia and Ralts, so I'm bench locked from placing a Cresselia, which would be my best attacker here. If I had the Collapsed Stadium prior to the Worker, I could Collapse Stadium away the Greninja, then play Worker, removing the Collapsed Stadium, then bench Cresselia. Attach Retreat the Manaphy, put out Cresselia, then Psychic Recharge, and use Moonglow Reverse. So I'm just going to attack with Gardevoir EX as my attacker, since I know they have a pretty hard time at getting up to high amounts of damage early on with this deck. So I feel pretty confident that the Gardevoir EX will be able to survive. And even if it didn't, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Now, I don't remember in this match if I do Collapse Stadium here to just get rid of the Manaphy. Okay, I don't. There was a thought to Collapse Stadium to get rid of the Manaphy, but if they hit into this Gardevoir, I'm going to want to Collapse Stadium away the Gardevoir because it's going to be damaged with 3 energy on it. I can just Collapse Stadium it away and then Super Rod back the pieces later. Okay, so they have Reversal Energy on Gardevoir. They also have Gardevoir EX. Now, the Reversal deck only plays 6 basic energies. Right now, their Gardevoir can swing for 150, and I have 250 HP remaining. So they'll have to accelerate 4 Psychic Energies to the active Gardevoir if they're going to knock out my Gardevoir EX. And they do have 4 energy in the discard, so it looks like they'll be able to knock out my active Gardevoir EX with their Shining Arcana Gardy this turn. It might be a bit of a problem, but luckily I already do have the Super Rod in my hand, so that's going to be a big help. And then when I attack and knock out their Gardevoir, we'll go down to 4 prizes even, which means that on the following turn, they won't have Reversal Energy active. I could also go for a Cresselia if I can find the Cresselia next turn, to just Moonglow Reverse and knock out their Kirlia. They played down this Path to the Peak way too early. They really want to save that for later on when they compare it with an Iono down to a low hand size. I really think this Path to the Peak was poor decision here, and that could definitely cost them the game. We'll start this turn out with a Refinement, getting rid of a Psychic Energy, and then we'll Fog Crystal for the Cresselia. And I actually drew into the Gardevoir EX, so I don't even have to Super Rod right away, but and I'm also not even going to get a Ralts, because I think this turn I'll just attack with Cresselia. Use some more Refinements, get rid of the Battle Pass. We can use Worker now to bump that path since I waited. Note that I didn't just immediately play down the Champions Festival and bump the path, because there was nothing forcing me to play down my stadium that early. So now I can just wait and use the Worker, and that way I have my Champion Festival for later on. Evolve Gardevoir EX, place down the Cresselia, and then the next step is to Worker to get rid of this Path to the Peak. I can then use the Greninja's concealed cards now that the path is gone. And I actually have all 3 of my stadiums in my hand right now. So if I ever wanted to get rid of this Manaphy to make more bench space, now would be a good time. And I do decide to do that now, since I was holding on to the Collapsed on the previous turn in case they damaged my active Gardevoir EX but didn't knock it out, and they did end up knocking it out. So I'm going to just go ahead and use that Collapse to get rid of the Manaphy now, so I have extra bench space later on. And I believe I have an energy in my hand, so I don't need to attach 2 to the active. I can keep it at full health this way. After the Moonglow Reverse, obviously. And we're going to use 80 of this damage to attack the Kirlia on the bench. So Moonglow Reverse, we're going to move all 80 of our damage onto the opponent's one of their benched Kirlias. Or we could also knock out the active Gardevoir, actually. So yeah, knocking out the active Gardevoir is actually just way better, because we're taking out not only a Ralts and Kirlia, but a Ralts, Kirlia, and Gardevoir, and it already had energy to attack with. And now the opponent will be forced to Psychic Embrace energies and damage their own Pokemon if they want to attack this turn, since they can't use reversal energies. Well, they can attach reversal energy, but it only counts as one colorless energy, since we're even on prizes now. The opponent uses a couple of refinements, gets rid of a Manaphy and a Battle Pass here, and then they're going to go ahead and Super Rod, get back some of those Gardevoir pieces. Again, PTCG Live doesn't show when you recycle cards like with Clara or Super Rod. So we're just going to assume that they got back Ralts CRE Gardevoir. When you're actually in the game, you can go and look at the discard and guess what's missing. There they evolve the Gardevoir and they'll use Shining Arcana. And like I said, if they want to take a knockout here, they're going to have to damage their Gardevoir. Ultra Ball getting rid of the fighting type Gallade. They're not going to need that in this matchup. And benching another Ralts. And then Psychic Embrace 3 times, bringing that Gardevoir down to actually twice. And then attach manually from hand. So it has 100 HP left, and then they're going to boss up my Shining Arcana Gardevoir. And I believe that's fine, because I'm just going to Moon Glow reverse their Kirlia on the bench. Because I can Super Rod back the Gardy pieces, and then I will probably just Artazon for a Ralts, and then Iono. Yeah, so here we go. Super Rod back Ralts Kirlia, and then Super Rod back Kirlia Gardevoir. Play down Artazon for a Ralts, and Ultra Ball. I could Ultra Ball away like Research and maybe Iono. I don't really need the other Ralts right now, you know, so I'm just going to go ahead and Iono, and then I can use Shining Arcana for some more cards. So Shining Arcana actually just gets me the Ralts. That's wonderful. And then Psychic Embrace to actually, if I put energy on all of my Pokemon, I would be able to knock out the active Gardevoir. Oh, actually, I'm going for Lunar Blast here. That's also really, really good. So yeah, Lunar Blast. Instead of knocking out the benched Kirlia and doing Moonglow reverse, I can just Lunar Blast and knock out a Ralts Kirlia Gardy, the full evolution line, instead of just Ralts Kirlia, which is much better. Sometimes when watching games back, like when I was in the game, recording it and playing it, I have all of these things like planned so far ahead of time, and then watching it back to do the commentary, I'm, you know, analyzing what I'm doing in real time, but I'm not in that same mindset as when you're actually playing the game. So it's pretty interesting that like the analyst commentator perspective is sometimes so different from actually being in the game. So obviously when I was playing the game, I was like, yeah, we'll Lunar Blast here, obviously. But from the analyst perspective, I was just thinking Moonglow reverse, because that's what they usually do with Cresselia. So a little bit of a flip on the perspective here, where I'm both the player and the commentator. Looking back, it's like, oh yeah, obviously I made the right play. So here they're going to assemble the Mewtwo V Union, and I have myself bench locked ? They might be able to do some funny stuff with Mewtwo and not allow me to bench the Zacian, and not allow me to go down on prizes. Because if I go down on prizes, I can knock out their Mewtwo V Union in one hit with Reversal Energy plus Shining Arcana. And the Mewtwo's were 3 prizes, so I would win the game. So this might actually end up being a little bit of a tricky situation if they use their Mewtwo V Union's Psysplosion correctly here. So I think looking back, I should have never benched that final Ralts. I should have just left that bench space open, because then if they went for a play like this, I can simply bench Zacian V, and if the Cresselia gets knocked out, I have all that energy in the discard pile, or I can retreat. I'm not sure if I would be able to get enough energy on the Zacian in just one turn by retreating, but I could also just retreat and attack with the Shining Arcana Gardy and force them to make a different kind of move. So here they are playing exactly how I said. They're not taking prizes on purpose, because if they take prizes, they could I think they definitely lose if they take a prize here, because it'll activate my reversal energy. So they have to keep my bench locked. And at this point, I'm figuring out what do I do to counter this. Luckily, I still have my Champions Festival available. And here I'm checking all the resources. I have to evolve this Kirlia, because evolving the Kirlias are going to give the Raltses each plus 10 HP, which isn't a lot, but it ends up mattering. Because right now, they need to do 40 to my Cresselia, 20 to Kirlia, 10 to Ralts to win the game and take 3 prizes. And they can definitely do that because Psy-Explosion lets them place 16 damage counters. So if I can find Champions Festival and I can evolve my other Ralts as well, I'll be able to heal 10 from everything with Champions Festival and then 20 from everything with Cresselia. And they will be 10 damage, 1 damage counter short from winning the game. So there's the Champions Festival. I heal 10 from everything. And then I'm going to Psychic Embrace, deciding if I'm going to Psychic Embrace just once to the Shining Arcana Gardy or also to the Gardevoir EX. I'm just going to do the one so I have energy left in my discard for later on. And here I'm also counting, do I lose here? Can they place 16 damage counters and take 3 prizes? But the way that I've done this, I'm able to avoid being knocked out this turn. So I can put damage on one of their benched Pokemon. I can put it on Kirlia and take a prize here. And this is going to pressure them to make some different kinds of moves. So my Kirlias each have 50 HP remaining and my Cresselia has 70. That's 170 damage or 17 damage counters. And the Mewtwo can place 16 damage counters. So because of Champions Festival and Moonglow Reverse combined, I am surviving by 1 damage counter this turn. Okay, so the opponent Ionos. And again, if they take a knockout, that means I can bench Zacian. So I think they'll avoid taking a knockout again this turn. There's 40 on Kirlia, 40 on Kirlia. They'll bring the Cresselia up to just 10 HP remaining, and then put 20 on Gardevoir. So all I have to do to not lose is evolve one of these Kirlias into Gardevoir EX. And then the opponent has no 3 prize turn remaining possible on the board. So I'll just Moonglow Reverse 100 damage to Gardevoir EX. I'm not Moonglow Reversing onto Mewtwo because it has the ability that prevents it from being affected by attacks. So it can't be affected by damage counters. So I have to do it this way. I'll put 100 damage on their benched Gardevoir EX and then next turn boss KO it. And they don't have any combination of 16 damage counters here that takes 3 prizes. And because they've waited, they can't just knock out a 2-prizer to win, because they have 3 prizes left. So I actually think they should have taken a single prize last turn, and then just take the gamble that I can't make Zacian work for the knockout, because I already had energy around my board from Psychic Embrace. So I think it would have been correct for them to take a knockout last turn on a Pokemon that didn't have any energy on it. And here we go with Psy-Explosion. So they're gonna knock out the Cresselia, they're gonna knock out the Kirlia, but that's where it ends. They can't take a 3rd knockout, and they couldn't knock out a 2-prize Pokemon. So I actually ended up not placing the damage on Gardevoir EX with the Moonglow Reverse last turn. I just took a single prize knockout, so now I can just boss up the Luxray and knock it out with Miracle Force or Brainwave. I can knock it out with pretty much anything. And that's going to be boss on the Luxray, Miracle Force 190, GG. That was an exciting game. Hope you all enjoyed the video today. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.